lived in a household full of men who loved sports. As a kid, there were 7 of us in my family, including my dad and 2 brothers, and they were obsessed with sports. And I've spent most of my adult years living happily in the company of a husband and 2 sons whose love of the game goes beyond measure. In our house, it's all sports, all the time. Yo, Mama, Dodgers are coming back Friday night. Can we go to the game, please? Hey, Mom, did you see the Chargers made a comeback in the 4th quarter? Peggy, hurry up, honey, come down here quick. Tiger's making a comeback. And that is exactly the way I feel these days. Well, just like the Dodgers in the 9th, the Chargers in the 4th, and Tiger on the 18th, because my vagina's made a comeback. Now, my vagina has served me well over the years. It made it through the 60s, and yes, even the 70s, while living the life of a struggling actor in Manhattan. And my vagina came along for the ride as I partied my way from Battery Park to Washington Heights. Nobody went to Brooklyn back then, not even our vaginas. And in the midst of that deliciously hazy decade, I had the good fortune of meeting the love of my life and husband of 39 years in the attic of a Hampton summer share. Now, the object of my affection on this particular steamy evening was not my future husband, but in fact, one of his housemates I had just met at the local pub. There were a few old satin sheets hung on the clothesline strung across the attic, creating a 2-bedroom pied-à-terre in this particular Hampton share they called the farm. So, my future husband is on the other side of the clothesline with his girlfriend Maureen the nurse. And on that fateful night, the man I would later fall madly in love with, marry, and who would become the father of our 2 beautiful sons, heard me, and quite possibly heard my vagina, before he ever met us. We smiled as we passed each other on the attic stairwell early the next morning as I was tiptoeing down the stairs in my red high-heeled candies to catch the first train back to the big city. I did, however, make a mental note of his smile, those big blue eyes, and I just knew right then and there that this city girl was probably going to be coming back to the farm. Hey, that's just the way romance rolled in the 70s. There was no sexting back then. We just had sex. It was so much easier. Now, the comeback of my vagina is fabulous news because we tend to push out big babies in our family. Any newborn clocking in at less than 9 pounds is considered a preemie. Our first son, Sean, was born by cesarean section, and at 9 pounds, 5 ounces, he was considered pretty average for our family. However, we do hold the family record with our second son, Liam, who weighed in at 11 pounds, 2 ounces. Now, my cousin Jimmy's son, Seamus, he was 11.3 when he was born, but he peed on the weighing station, went down to 11.1, so we still hold the family record. Now, baby Liam was called a V-back, not to be confused with a running back or a tailback. A V-back is a vaginal birth after cesarean, and for all I know, I just might be in the Cedars-Sinai Hall of Fame. Now, right after the birth and all the high fives, the bonding and the end zone celebrating, our doctor saying it was the biggest catch of his career, and my husband claiming that he was going to be coach of the year, the night nurse was taking the baby back down to the nursery so I could get some rest. And I suddenly remembered all those rumors that they sometimes tell you about the nurses feeding the babies sugar water in the nursery. So I called out kind of dramatically to the nurse, "Nurse, I'm breastfeeding. Please don't give my baby any sugar water." She just turned around as she's pushing our little V-backer out the door, and she said, "Sugar water? Honey, this kid's going to walk down to Cantor's for a corned beef on rye." In the game of life, just as in any grueling sport, it's hard enough to reach the second quarter. But then nature comes along with the ultimate kick-ass halftime show for us girls: menopause. Now, I repeat, pause. Now, what they don't mention in this sport is that you can be literally blindsided by your own body. Yes, that's right. The manager of your team can come along at halftime and put your vagina on the DL list. So you find yourself sitting on the bench at the halftime of your life, sidelined with a disabled vagina. We have so little control over our bodies, it's only natural for us to want to do something so that, well, we can look and feel better about ourselves. Some of my fancy friends immediately find the surgeon at halftime. Halftime's not that long and the clock is ticking. Maybe it's the eyes or the neck and the chin combo, the lips or the whole face if you got the money and the time. So where did I have to go? To a surgeon whose card reads pelvic floor reconstruction. Yep, that's the real world, baby. The women of my family can't even entertain the notion about getting the outside of our bodies fixed. We've spent most of our middle-aged days and beyond fretting about the inside of our bodies. The Maddox girls are like clockwork. At 47, our uterus, bladder, and other odds and ends start to slowly move south. It takes just a few more years before things start to slip just a little bit more at 53, and at 57, it's a fucking landslide. Yes, that's right. One sunny day, you're shopping at Trader Joe's, and you bend over to pick up that nice leg of lamb, and your uterus falls out. So my reconstruction surgeon, my floor guy, as I like to call him, he works out of a big teaching hospital. We live in LA, he's young, he's adorable, he's at the top of his game. He kind of looks like a regular on Grey's Anatomy, except he always looked way more tired than any of those guys ever do. And at a visit with him to discuss my upcoming floor surgery, I asked him if it might be possible to include my chin and my jowls in the pelvic floor raising. Of course, I was joking, but I think I might have detected a look of compassion. As I was being wheeled into surgery, I made one last attempt at some kind of extra work like my fancy friends. And so I pleaded with my floor guy to see it if he could maybe find it in his heart and steady hand to take my vagina back to those glory days of the 70s. If my outer shell couldn't go back there, at least maybe my vagina could. Our sons have grown into handsome, kind, smart young men who have found their own loves and are making their way in the world. And Johnny and I celebrate each married year with grateful astonishment that the meeting in the attic of a Hampton summer share could have led to such bliss. Oh, and apparently my floor guy was listening, because now when we're all alone in our Silver Lake love nest, the lights low, the candles lit, Billy Joel playing really loudly, because our hearing is going. On the outside, I may look, feel, and move like a 67-year-old wife and mother of 2 grown men. But on the inside, oh baby, it's game day. And I am ready for the play-by-play because my vagina's made a comeback.
You a natural blondie, sleeping on my belly in a loop like a serpent. Talking heads rippling on the surface. Eyes low, chin, heavy shoegazer. Moonwalking, R.I.P. Stanley Cool.